are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Cowboys. Locked On Cowboys.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. And joining me today, as always, is Landon McCool. You can check him out on Twitter at McCoolBCB. You can also listen to him on the Best Coast Boys podcast. Landon, it is the final preseason game. We've made it. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly ready for it to be over. I'm not ready to watch a whatever kind of football this is going to be in the fourth preseason game. But look, it's never great football, but at the very least, it's guys really, really playing hard, and sometimes that can produce incredible plays. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it can produce really terrible plays. So the volatility is at least fun to watch, right?
The good thing is you get to watch Ben DiNucci at 10 a.m. your time on Sunday. That is going to be a lot of fun. I think that's the way football was designed to be, right? It's going to be a lot
Not enough coffee in the world for that.
Right? All right, so let's preview this preseason game against Jacksonville. I know it's very important that the Cowboys get a preseason win as they're 0-3 right now. So how many guys in this game do you think are actually competing for a job on the 53-man roster? Or do you think the front office kind of knows who they're keeping?
Real quick, did you see, I think it was 2 days ago when Babe Laufenberg asked McCarthy if he had, because about, kind of speaking about what you're talking about, he asked McCarthy, hey, do you have any guys in your past that, made the 53-man roster in this final preseason game? And McCarthy was like, he misheard the question or something, but he thought that they were asking about current guys that were going to make the 53. And he's like, he got like all upset. He's like, oh, I can't answer that. But after he finally kind of caught up to the question, he kind of listed off all these guys that, previously with the Packers specifically, it seemed that he had throughout his time there that were kind of examples of guys that had made it to that fourth game and then ended up making the roster. And the list was actually kind of surprisingly long because you figure, I don't know. I mean, the Packers really talented team year after year while he was there, and just like the Cowboys, you don't expect a ton of these kind of
right
bottom of the roster guys, especially I think that there's going to be players that are on the Cowboys team probably already that will play in this game just simply to facilitate the game. But I think if you're talking about guys that are going to make the team because of their play in this game, I think if there's one or two guys that really, really shine, then maybe they make themselves, kind of closer to uncuttable or closer to that line of being cut than they were previously. But I mean, I would say that a vast majority, this is probably the same every year. A vast majority of the roster spots are pretty well set. I think you're thinking like 2 or 3 spots at the bottom of the roster, and you really don't expect a dark horse candidate to kind of make themselves known this late in the game.
All right, I'm gonna read you some names that our friend Bob Stern posted on Twitter. So the other day, I don't know if you saw this tweet. He said, if I had to guess now, these 3 players are locks to make the roster based on their special teams usage in the preseason. The names are Azur Kamara, Luke Gifford, and your guy, Darian Thompson. They've all played 100% of their special team snaps. I feel like punt, return, punt coverage, kickoff stuff. Do you believe all 3 of those guys are locks to make the team?
I like Bob's thinking in this. I mean, I definitely respect his approach to that, and I think that that's a legitimate thing.
It's a good way to at least have an idea of the guys that they're thinking about keeping, for sure.
Absolutely. But having said that, I mean, does the evidence that he's presented to you make it sound like that is now a legitimate? Let me back up and say this. Is there any chance that Kazir is going to make this team?
The only way that I could see it is if they just don't bring Chauncey Golston off PUP, right? They'll just leave him on there.
Even then, like, Numbers
well, okay.
wise.
So let me rephrase that. Is there any chance that he beats out Bradley and I for that last defensive end spot because of special teams alone?
No, I don't think so. I don't know that he's such. I mean, is he such a better special teams player than Anai? And Anai gives you actual pass rush ability, which is like a commodity. It's like,
I agree. I'm not saying. I think if it was me, I would keep Anai because I think you can cut Azur Kamara, and I think he'll be on the practice squad. If you need him for a week to play special teams, I get it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think this list just scares you. And I think it scares me too because Darian Thompson's name is on it.
No, that one actually doesn't surprise me too much. It's really
of course it doesn't. That's what I'm saying is that it's Darian Thompson is who we're afraid they're going to keep because of all these reasons, because of special teams, because of that. And to me, the other two names on the list, you can make an argument that Darian Thompson is a lock and that we just don't like it, right?
I think that's fine
because I think that could easily be made. Obviously, there is lots of drum beating for the idea that the coaches love Darian Thompson. I just have a hard time looking at the other two players in the list and saying those guys are locks to make the roster.
Well,
especially because
Gifford doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, we are somebody that really liked Gifford in 2019 when he was playing really well in in preseason, but he just hasn't gotten better, right? He's kind of stayed the same. He's not a great athlete. He's not a great fit in the defense. And I don't think he's such a good special teams player that you have to keep him, right? I think if you want to go out and get a special teams demon, there's better guys than him. That one just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, and I guess that's what my overall point was, is that okay. I think to me the evidence presents itself like, okay, that maybe that practice, maybe they were trying to get through special teams in their week 3 game, and it wasn't so much of a dress rehearsal, because I just have a hard time believing that that those other two players, again, Darian Thompson I could buy, but the other two players, because they played on 100% of the snaps, that they're locks to make the roster. Luke Gifford has played pretty awful.
He's been bad.
I mean, in the preseason, and Kazir, he's so far away from being ready to be on an NFL roster. I mean, he's basically like Alcaron, so I like him as a stash guy, but I would really have a hard time believing that they're ready to put him on the 50.
And the other guy was Jeremy Sprinkle. That one makes a little bit more sense to me, especially considering the Sean McEwen injury, right? Nick Eubanks is just not ready. Sprinkle he's a veteran. He can play special teams. He's an okay blocker. He's got a big body. That would make sense. The other ones are,
He has usefulness. I think the thing is that I have a hard time saying that any of those guys are locks just because they played all the special teams. I don't think that's enough for me with the rest of the information we have to put those guys down as locks.
I agree. All right, let's take a quick break so I can tell you guys about Built Bar, the absolute best tasting protein bar out there. It's hard to even explain it. It's real chocolate with amazing flavors. It's also just a great combination of low calories, high protein, and low sugar with no crazy additives. Best of all, they taste absolutely fantastic. Go to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCK15 and you will get 15% off your next box at BuiltBar.com. All right, Landon, let's run through some guys that we're excited to watch in this game. Cooper Rush, starting backup quarterback?
I think he's got to play this game. I don't know that. I mean, short of throwing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, I mean, even then, I don't know that there's anything he can do in this game other than screw it up.
Yeah.
For his chance to be backup quarterback, right? I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, there isn't a positive thing he can do in this game that's going to make me feel a lot better about him being the backup quarterback, because he's playing against a bunch of guys that are probably not going to be playing in the NFL next week, right?
Right.
There is a way that he could play in this game and screw up his chances of being the backup quarterback if he plays poorly enough. But here's what I would keep in mind with Cooper Rush. And I think the lesson that we learned last week more than anything is that putting Cooper Rush in with the down roster guys is not a good evaluation of who Cooper Rush is as a backup quarterback.
I agree. It's so hard to evaluate him that way.
And he is not – I think Gilbert, more than Rush, has some moxie, has some ability.
He's got more
with these
tools. There's
breakdowns.
no doubt about it, right?
He has more tools. I think he can throw the ball a little bit better. He can when the clock goes off, he can get out, make plays in the side. But the problem, and so what that does is that makes him look better with the down roster group, right? Because he makes things happen. That's not the job, though. The job is to work in the confines of the offense with the players that you have. And when the Cowboys have is a very talented offense, I'm not trying to make it the Garrett Gilbert show. I'm trying to make it still trying to make it the CeeDee Lamb, the Cooper, Jarwin show. So maybe the best guy to do that is the guy who knows the offense the best, knows how to make the calls. And he doesn't have the best arm to kind of make the pinpoint throws, but he can operate the offense effectively and let the playmakers around him make plays. So all of this is a long-winded way of saying we need to be really careful about over criticizing Cooper Rush or, over knocking Cooper Rush for his play with these guys that are kind of at his level or below, because frankly, that's not the appeal there for Cooper Rush.
Yes.
We need to keep in mind that the appeal there is how he operates with the first team around him if he was to be the backup quarterback.
I agree. All right, let's move on to some other guys we're excited to see. Big opportunity for Jaquan Hardy and Brendan Knox, right? I mean, both guys with Rico Dowdle going on injured reserve. I don't think either guy is going to make the 53-man roster. In fact, I'd be shocked. But maybe one of them plays well enough to have the Cowboys be excited about stashing them on the practice squad. And then now they feel good, if they need one of these guys for a week. That's really all that I'm looking for from those guys. But any comments on them?
I mean, even for them too, the other teams are watching. So, another team may find him. For the Cowboys, he may not be the best solution for their third running back because they want a little more experience there for a guy. But for another team that is looking to stash a guy, if they have a good game, they come out. If Hardy comes out here and rushes for 115 yards against Jacksonville, maybe he gets a call from a team that's looking to stash a guy and develop him, and that's where he kind of takes off from there.
Simi Fehoko. He hasn't done anything really. That's the
thing. Simi Fehoko, I think if we're looking for guys who potentially could do something enough to kind of put them back into the conversation.
That's one of the guys.
Yeah, Fehoko. Well, I mean, he'd have to have an incredible game because he has done nothing so far. So yeah, if he has like a really super incredible game and is dominant, that might be enough in combination with his the fact that he's a draft pick, right?
Yeah.
For the coaches to be like, well, maybe we need to take a look.
Not that I care too much, but I will say Brandon Smith is one of the guys that I kind of hope doesn't play a lot in this game because I want him to make it back to the Cowboys practice squad. Not that he won't, but not that I think he's going to get claimed by somebody, but I do want him to pick Dallas's practice squad over everybody else because I think there is a path for him.
Brown.
To replace Noah Brown next year, right? And having him on the practice squad for a year, kind of maybe getting a little bit bigger, getting a little stronger, I think he could do that. So that's just somebody I'm keeping an eye on. Anybody else on defense you want to mention?
I mean, it's just going to be interesting to see who plays, because with all the COVID stuff, the defensive tackle depth, it's like, how are they going to field a team for really –
a lot of Tyler Coyle snaps, I'm betting, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really worried about the defensive tackles because we can't really lose a lot of these guys anymore.
No.
And they're gonna have to play a lot of snaps. So you're gonna see a ton of these down roster. I mean, I hope Austin Faolu plays 150 snaps in this game. I hope he plays both defensive tackle positions at the same time.
Well,
I just cannot stand to lose these guys.
Justin Hamilton's probably gonna have to play a lot, right?
I don't want Justin Hamilton to play a lot because he's going to be playing week 1 too. But yes, I mean he will. He is going to be playing a lot.
So my guess is you're going to see a lot of like Rondale Carter, Justin Hamilton, Austin. I mean, Odigizua is probably going to have to play more than we want, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to have to play. I mean, it's just a matter of how many snaps. And I think that they want to continue to get him snaps, but I don't know that these snaps are nearly as useful as last week's snaps for a guy like Osa.
Yeah. What about a linebacker? Who do you want to see playing at linebacker?
Can we get Francis Bernard back on there so he could take all those snaps? I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen has 50 tackles in this game because, they play him the whole game. And, he's maybe not on par with the best NFL linebackers, but if you put him in there with a bunch of scrubs, I bet he looks pretty good. My
guess in the secondary is you'll see a lot of Nashawn Wright. You might see quite a bit of Maurice Kennedy. Maybe Kelvin Joseph starts the game for you. That'll be at least a little bit interesting to see. But, man, their just numbers are going to be – it's going to be rough. A lot of these guys are going to be having to play a lot of snaps. But let's take one more quick break so I can tell you guys about Bet Online. It's that time of year again, and all eyes are now turning to football as teams are back on the gridiron to start the football season. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. You can actually bet on this Cowboys-Jags preseason game. I don't know why you'd want to, but it's actually – there's lines out there to do that. Just you have to be a degenerate to do that, which means I will be doing that.
Level, guys.
Yeah. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 100% welcome bonus. BetOnline is the fastest and the easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports, from football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait and take advantage of all the great offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. All right, Landon, so I have one more thing for us, but any final thoughts on this game in the preseason as a whole?
I'm ready for the regular season, man. I think we've seen enough of honestly, like, we're talking about this game like we just have to survive it. And that's ultimately, I'm sure, the way the coaches are saying is how do we find enough players that we can throw into the meat grinder of this game? And the other thing, too, is just to bring it up, it's a dangerous game because of the fact that you have these young players that are inexperienced. It's a more dangerous game than other games. So I think for the Cowboys, let's just try to find a way to survive it and get out of it.
I agree. It's going to be really ugly. Let's just hope it gets done quickly, and then we can move on to talking about Tampa Bay. All right, Landon, the last thing I had for you, because I know it's always fun on a Friday show to be able to make fun of me and my food takes.
Oh, okay, good.
I am going to the State Fair on Friday night. So what is your favorite fair food that you must have when you go?
Wait, the New York State Fair?
No. It's the PA State Fair.
The PA State Fair. Well, I mean, if you say State Fair to a bunch of Cowboys fans, we're all going to think the Texan State Fair.
No. The actual
that's the only state fair that we recognize. Thank you very much.
No. I'm saying, so what are the foods that you have to hit when you go to a state fair?
Well, first of all, this is why I don't go to the State Fair anymore, because I have to hit up all the foods when I go to the State Fair. Listen, I mean, like I said, I'm from Texas, so I go to the Texas State Fair, and it's in Dallas, so I've been a ton. And I'm here to tell you that every single fried food was invented at the Texas State Fair. Every single one. The fried peanut butter cups, the fried
Oreos, Twinkies, all that stuff.
Oh my God. I remember when fried Twinkies came out. Like, that was the hotness in the Texas State Fair. Funnel cakes, man. I love funnel cakes. I mean, any kind of deep fried food, of course, is delicious. Hot dogs, corn dogs. Like, that's a big thing at Texas State Fair. They have the Fletcher corn dogs, which are just the best. So,
see,
what about you?
I like trying the pizza. Like, I'll just try a slice from like seven different vendors, right? Like, I like the ones that have the big thick dough on them. Like, you know what I'm talking about?
We don't have that. I think that's a Pennsylvania.
Oh man, we get pizza, like, it's thin except for the crust is like just monstrous at the end. It's almost like a big garlic knot right at the end.
It's like a mix between Chicago and New York pizza.
Yeah. It's very, very similar to that. And then
for
me, it's French fries, right? Like, if I can get some really good, like, hand cut French fries with like some cheese and ketchup mixed in there, oh, that's really garbage fries, garbage nachos, all that kind of stuff.
See, for the Texas State Fair, it's mostly like novelty fried things. We
have all that as well, right?
Yeah,
like
stuff, but
that's all there. But man, that's just stuff. You have a couple bites of that, and you have to force it down after that, right?
You eat all the fried food, then you get on a whirly whirl, and then it's probably too dangerous to actually get on, and then you vomit later. It's a whole thing.
It's an experience, right? I mean, you can't miss it. That's why
I love the State Fair. I love this time of year because of the stuff like the State Fair, and just for all my Dallas fans, there's just something great about heading down to Fair Park and being down there at that time of year, and being next to the Cotton Bowl and all of that. So yeah. the state fair is always a lot of fun. I haven't been in almost 10 years, and I haven't been since Big Tech's burned down.
Yeah,
so I gotta go back. It's been entirely too long, and I'm hoping that I might get a chance to get back this year.
All right, so here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to go to Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast. I want you to give us a 5-star review, and then I want you to list your favorite fair food. I'm just curious to hear the answers. And maybe eventually we'll try to do some of these on the show. We'll do like one-off video. We'll have some fair food that we'll digest and rate on the fair.
There's definitely a high demand in our group, in our fandom to dunk on you for your food takes.
Well,
so
I mean, listen, you guys
this.
you're entitled to your wrong opinion when it comes to food. It's fine. It's not a big deal.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. So we'll be back on Monday to review whatever happens in this awful preseason game. We'll talk about roster cuts next week. We'll talk about guys that the Cowboys should get back on the practice squad, any big roster moves they make. So make sure you guys are subscribing to the podcast. Check us out on YouTube. You can follow Landon at McCool BCB. You can follow the show at Locked On Cowboys. I'm at Marcus _Mosher, and we'll see you next time.